When pandemic shutdowns started wreaking havoc on the economy, the White House and Congress came to the aid with trillions of dollars worth of aid to individuals and small businesses. But that kind of money invites criminals. It was Secret Service agent Roy Dotson who led the team that investigated those criminals. Roy, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
You're a Secret Service agent. Most people know that that's you guys protect the president. What are you doing involved in pandemic relief fraud?
Well, the Secret Service also has an integrated mission that we investigate cyber crimes, financial crimes, basically. So we do a lot of investigations, whether that's business email compromises, ransomware, bank fraud, those types of crimes.
And really the history of the Secret Service was as part of the Treasury Department, that it was originally for counterfeiting. It was a financial crimes bureau, essentially.
Yes, yes. It was founded on those principles. At that time, they believed that maybe up to a third or a half of the currency in circulation was counterfeit, and that's how we were established.
Tell me about this problem. How were you initially alerted that there was a problem with this pandemic relief fraud?
Well, the Secret Service, we have a lot of partnerships, and those are private and public, and those include financial institutions. After the CARES Act was enacted in March of 2020, shortly thereafter, we started getting calls from our financial institutions believing that some of their clients were receiving funds that they believed possibly were fraudulent, and those happened to be unemployment insurance payments and SBA loans.
So how were criminals trying to get at that money?
It wasn't a real sophisticated fraud. Individuals could just submit an online application. So individuals, as soon as those funds became available, not only did some transnational and domestic organized crime groups, but also individuals were able just to submit those applications online.
So all you had to do was say, I need the money, and the government would send you a check?
Well, there was obviously some information that you had to provide in those applications, and most, in the case of fraud, in fraud cases, that was fictitious, or maybe they used somebody else's identification. So yes, in some regard, you just had to fill in an online application, and then eventually you were supposed to submit some type of paperwork that would validate what you had inputted into the applications.
Okay, so you realize there's a problem. What do you do? What's your first step?
So we, and the Secret Service and our cyber fraud task forces, which is made up of state and local law enforcement that work with us every day on all types of financial crimes, we came together. We came up with an investigative plan. We put together basically like a COVID-19 fraud team that consists of agents and detectives and analysts. And we started to gather intelligence from our partners, and also working with SBA OIG and Department of Labor, Office of Inspector General. And we started working all together to pull and make leads, criminal leads, and also to follow where the funds had gone.
I was going to ask you about working with other agencies, because you had to not just work with state and local, but across the federal government. How did that go?
Actually, it's in 20 years with the service, it's one of the best collaborations I've ever seen as far as across the federal law enforcement. And when we're talking about, again, SBA OIG, DOL OIG, the Pandemic Response Accountability Commission, it's been incredible. Everybody's come together. We understand the mission. We understand what happened in some regard. And we all have one common goal, and that's to not only to try to recover what we can for either the federal government or the state if they were a victim in the unemployment, but it's also to bring those to justice that have decided to target.
Well, speaking of recovery, what were you able to recover?
Yeah, to date, the Secret Service has recovered about $1.26 billion that we've seized, and then we've had another about $2.3 billion that was recovered as we, we worked with the financial institutions, the third-party payment systems, to directly return that to the victims.
And is it the Secret Service that takes the lead on pandemic fraud, pandemic relief fraud?
No, many of our partners, like the FBI, the IRS, HSI, annually we do benefit fraud cases. So this is not really new. Obviously, the size and scope is way beyond anything that we've encountered. But I wouldn't say we're the lead. We just were able to, we kind of got out in front early, and then our partners joined us quickly.
Is this kind of fraud still happening today?
Well, it's starting to slow down just because the outflow of benefit payments is drying up. So that part is slowing up. As far as the investigation, it's full force. The Secret Service has approximately about 1,000 open criminal matters at this time, and I know our partners have, somewhere in those neighborhoods. So as far as the follow-up investigation, it is, it's ongoing.
And I would hope it's slowing down because people are not doing it as much.
Yeah, I believe that the message is getting out. That federal law enforcement, even state and local law enforcement, are actively investigating these cases, and that people will be held responsible if they committed fraud.
Can you tell me just briefly about some of the other financial cases you've worked with in your career?
Yeah, so I've worked, again, business email compromises, ransomwares, which deal with like romance scams and things like that we all hear about a lot now. I've done a lot of Ponzi schemes, and then a lot of cases that involved a lot of victims, especially the most vulnerable in our communities.
All right, Roy, thank you so much for your service and for coming in and being with us on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.